And we acknowledge all of the women and men around the world who are standing for change.
The women's revolution is alive at the Cannes Film Festival, with top directors and actresses protesting in front of the world's media against sexual harassment. And off the red carpet, these are the women of France 24, bringing you your daily Cannes coverage, marching in solidarity. One actress who's been very outspoken about women's rights is Amber Heard, the ex-wife of Johnny Depp. Let's go meet her. Amber Heard, hello.
Hi.
The Cannes Film Festival is staging a protest on the red carpet to mark this moment in time for women. How do you think things are changing in film after Time's Up and Me Too?
The tone has really been what has changed, and that's important because the audience is needed for a message to land or resonate. The range of inequalities is vast. It ranges from professional to domestic, from sexual to psychological. We've all been aware of these frustrations, but the tone in which frustration can be voiced and heard, that's what's really changed recently, and that's incredibly important. And next step is enacting the change. You know, as somebody who's suffered from not being heard adequately, having the tone not be right to be heard or understood, I'm incredibly humbled to see that the cultural conversation is finally shifting in the way it has.
I want to talk about some of the roles that you've been working on and the roles you're working on now, notably the indie drama Gully. What can you tell us about that? It's been compared to Clockwork Orange.
I am incredibly proud to have a moment in my career after doing Aquaman and before it comes out where I can pop in and out of various independent films that are being made by auteur, you know, up and coming, sometimes first time directors. So I'm really fortunate to be in a moment in my career where I have the luxury to pop in and out or to take certain risks, like doing this movie or doing the movie I'm doing now in New York. Ross Perry's Her Smell. It's entirely female-led cast, helmed by Elizabeth Moss. I have a small supporting role in it, and I can pop in and do an interesting character that's very different from the one I did in Gully, for instance. And I can get my hands dirty and go back to work and do the little passion projects that I love.
And you're also starring in the upcoming blockbuster Aquaman. You're playing the character you played in Justice League Mera. Tell us about playing a superhero. What's that like?
It's hard work being a superhero. No, it's so fun. It's very interesting process, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's kind of a surreal experience, you know, because so much of it is special effects and done afterwards. And
you have to be really fit to be a superhero?
You have to work out a lot, yeah. Have me in the gym. No, I wanted to feel good and feel strong. I think it was probably like, you know, I have very little skin exposed, and especially in comparison to just in general, how, you know, my other roles. But I wanted to be strong from within, and I liked tying a physicality to my character and having something to root it in.
And you're involved in many charities. You've recently been in Jordan working with Syrian refugees. Tell us about that.
I recently had the opportunity to work with an organization called SAMS, a Syrian American Medical Society, and they organize missionary trips all around the world, but primarily in the Middle East, to alleviate the suffering of countless individuals affected by the conflict there, Syrian refugees in particular. And I recently went with them to Jordan and saw on firsthand what their work and many other incredibly inspiring nonprofits are building with both huge organizations and NGOs like UNICEF and all the hard work that they're doing and the way they're changing lives, but also how much additional help is needed. I met so many strong women, actually women that had just a spare bedroom, so they, you know, hosted a family or hosted an orphan, and then they had to expand into the neighboring apartment, and then before long they had the whole building, and then it just grew naturally. These organic grassroots organizations that were providing an incredibly important, needed aid to so many innocent people.
And you've also worked as a translator for Spanish-speaking women on the border in the United States waiting for deportation. Why that cause?
I was so fortunate to be involved with Amnesty International the way I was, and they asked me with this particular mission in mind, knowing that I come from the border, knowing that I speak Spanish, and I was already working with that organization, and they came to me with this particular mission. They were collecting data to present to the Supreme Court on the status of human rights in our migrant crisis, in our border cities and in our border towns and in our border jails and our deportation processes. So they were collecting a huge amount of information, and I was lucky to be involved with them at a time. They asked me to come on a trip with them, and we spent a lot of time on the border, not just in the deportation camps, if you will, but in these like makeshift cities that are jails. I sat in many different hearings where I saw chain gangs of individuals just literally being one after the other sentenced. Some of them didn't even have shoes on. It was incredibly moving, and to be able to talk to women who typically have seen the worst of the worst in these situations, and these experiences matter to me, not just because I'm from that area, but because they're human.
We're a world away from that here at the Cannes Film Festival.
It's a different world, yes.
It's a very glamorous affair.
Yes, but that's a good part of my job, is I can use one with the other. You know, being in one world has given me an incredible platform to be of service in the world that I live in, which is, you know, the world I come from, the real world. It's not this beautiful, almost, you know, hard to believe. It's kind of magical, Cannes.
And you have fun on the red carpet. At the Met Gala recently, you were wearing a very funky headband.
Yeah.
How do you decide your looks?
I mix a lot of imagination and the time, expertise, blood, sweat, and tears of a few really, really dedicated professionals working around me.
You're a role model to lots of young women and young people. And do you have a role model?
I wouldn't say one role model, but I have women that in my real life, in my personal life, that have, I wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be speaking to me here if I didn't have the women around me that I do. Not just in terms of inspiration, but in terms of support. I've always been inspired by women like Ayaan Hirsi Ali, but I didn't know them personally. I have my own personal versions of that, of course, too. But we need more. We need a lot more.
Amber, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.